Hey there, storytellers. Mary Rose here. It's Wednesday. It's 1 p.m. Pacific time. It is the day before Thanksgiving, and I am in a grateful mood. And today, that's what we're going to talk about. Writers love to complain, but we've got lots to be grateful for. And I want to share with you my top 10 of things that I am grateful for, particularly as a writer, not just in life, but as a writer. I hope it inspires you to feel a little gratitude as well. Before I dive into that, I want to tell you, if you've been thinking that the Path of the Storyteller program might be just what the doctor ordered for your writing practice, the next time the course is going to be offered is in January of 2022. And how could I resist having a Black Friday sale? So there's going to be a special enrollment offer for a Black Friday sale. You will get notified with all the details if you're on my email list. And in order to do that, you go to www.pathofthestoryteller.com, put your email in the little box, click submit, make sure that you click the confirmation email that you will get. That will add you to my list, and then you will get the notification about the special Black Friday sale. It will absolutely be the earliest and thus best opportunity to make sure that you get a seat in the program, and also the most affordable way to enroll. So if you've been thinking about it, this would definitely be a great opportunity for you to sign up. Wonderful. For those of you who might be new to the live stream, I'm Mary Rose Wood. I'm an author. I'm best known for my middle grade fiction, including Alice's Farm, A Rabbit's Tale, which is on the shelf behind me. I'm also the author of the Incorrigible Children of Ashton Place series, which is 6 books, and a project that, in a way, changed my life, because when you write something that connects with readers in a special way, then that's a real lesson in what being a writer has to offer in terms of nourishment coming back, and it provokes this idea of gratitude in a very, very special way. So that's what I'm best known for. But I am also a mentor, and the Path of the Storyteller program is where I mentor and teach writers. So again, if you want to know about that, get on my mailing list. This is the time. Black Friday is bearing down on us. So let's talk about this idea of gratitude. I am well aware that writers are really good at complaining. And I understand why, because I do it myself. When I don't catch myself, I certainly have been known to complain. But why we complain? Why? Because it's very hard work. It's a hard practice. It's complicated. It takes a long time. And sometimes the rewards that we imagine are going to come our way just seem like they take a really long time to get here. And it's almost like we're working in a vacuum for a little bit. We don't know if what we're doing is going to pay off. We don't know if I'm just opening up the comment box here so I can see who's watching. Hello there. We don't know if our hard work is going to pay off in the ways that we want it to, whether financially, getting published, connecting with readers, as I just mentioned. And so it's easy to complain. We feel a little underappreciated, right? I just want to remind you today that we have so much to be grateful for. And it's not hard to pivot, when the urge to complain about how hard writing is, how hard the profession of being a writer is, the journey toward being published is, that you can pivot to gratitude. So my own list, my top 10 list of things I'm grateful for, is personal and eccentric, but I share it with you in the spirit that it might inspire you to create your own. So without further ado, in New Year's Eve countdown order, meaning we're going to start with number 10 and end up with number 1. Let me share my list with you. Number 10 of my top 10 list of things I'm grateful for as a writer: nouns and verbs. Now, granted, that's 2 things, but maybe we could just consider them one thing. My favorite parts of speech. And I don't mean to cast shade on adjectives and adverbs, because they also come in useful. But nouns and verbs are where the magic truly lives. When we're writing, we want to deliver storytelling, and a noun plus a verb is the smallest beat of storytelling that exists. Nouns are concrete, verbs are actions, and this is what moves the story forward, right? Now, adjectives and adverbs, I'm grateful for your service. It's okay. We love to add nuance and sort of qualify what's going on. But without a solid backbone of nouns and verbs on the page, it's all going to feel very mushy. So, nouns and verbs are number 10 of my top 10. And I also want to say, even though nouns and verbs sound like two things, we can even double it again, because one of the great qualities of the English language is how much it's absorbed from other languages. And two of the big channels of words that have ended up in English are words derived from the Romance languages, which are derived from Latin. And then the other channel is words that are derived from the Anglo-Saxon languages of Northern Europe. And what that means is that in English, we often have a duplication. We have a Romance word that means something, but we also have the Anglo-Saxon word that means the same thing. It's really fun to start thinking of language with that level of nuance. So the next time you're feeling a little grateful for the nouns and verbs in your life, you can also feel grateful that you've got a choice. You've got a choice between the Romance word and the Anglo-Saxon word. And if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, this is a great thing to do some research with. But just think about the words that might come from Italian and Spanish and French, and the words that might come from Germanic or Northern European languages. The Anglo-Saxon words tend to be short and percussive in sound, and they tend to have a what feels like a blunter meaning. I'm going to give you one example. The Romance word would be damage. Yes, you can damage something. Ah, too bad. But if you want to really make your point, say it in Anglo-Saxon. Oops, I broke it. Damage is Romance. Break or broke is Anglo-Saxon word. So much juice in our beautiful language that we work with. So thank you, nouns and verbs, for putting some, I'll use the Thanksgiving image, putting some meat on the bone, right? Putting some meat on the bone about writing. Absolutely love it. Moving on. Number 9 in my top 10 list of things that I'm grateful for as a writer. Sidekicks. Oh, come on. Who doesn't love a great sidekick? I spend so much time talking about the hero of your story, the hero's mission, the hero's inner wound, the world of the hero and how it, destabilizes and something happens that kicks a story in motion. We spend a lot of time talking about the hero. But come on, aren't sidekicks awesome? They're awesome. The hero is often, very focused on the plot, as they should be, and beset with obstacles, as they should be. When you've got a sidekick, you can add a little comic relief. You can add some variety. You can brighten up the tone. You can add a love interest. You can do all kinds of things. So let's not forget to be grateful for our secondary cast of characters, particularly that special kind called the sidekick. Now, what makes a sidekick special usually is that they have a close relationship to the hero. So that's what I mean by it. A sidekick is a special kind of fellow traveler to the hero. They may spend a lot of the tale engaged in the same journey that the hero is on. And so they get to provide a different perspective on what's happening. They enlarge the view. They illuminate the character of the hero by serving as a mirror to what's going on. And as I say, they can add sometimes the needed levity. They might temporarily wear the archetypal mask of trickster and just, lighten things up. They might provide very valuable assistance. Sidekick can do all kinds of things. So let's be grateful for sidekicks. Who's the sidekick in the story that you're writing? Go say thank you to that sidekick. All right, that was number 9 on my list. Moving on to number 8. Number 8 on my list of things that I am grateful for as a writer, technology. Amazing. What a world we live in. We writers are so spoiled. We 21st century scribes are so spoiled by technology. Boy, do we have it easy. We have technology that we can use to compose with, to write with. I use Microsoft Word for most of my drafting of fiction. When I'm moving into a screenplay mode, play, or television script, I would use Final Draft, which is kind of an industry standard for formatting script, although it's certainly not the only product out there that works really well. Many writers that I know love to use products like Scrivener that allows you not only to compose, but to do a lot of planning, moving postcards around imaginary cork boards, rearranging stuff on the fly, however you like to work, there is a technological tool out there that is going to help you. But writing using technology, being able to save your work, having backups. I mean, can you imagine the anxiety of writers of days of old that would type a manuscript and that would be it? That would be the one existing copy of it. Oh my goodness. Or even before that, writers who wrote everything by hand, by candlelight, writers who were working with, a stylus and a wax tablet. I mean, we are really spoiled with technology. And this, I'm incredibly grateful for it because I'm a little bit lazy. And I think that if I had to, handwrite an entire manuscript, I wouldn't, I wouldn't enjoy it as much. I like being able to work quickly. We also have technology to do other things. We have technology to do research. This is so important as a writer. The ease at which we can do research for our work nowadays is unbelievable. When I've written books set in countries I've never visited, I've written stuff set in the historical periods that I'm not an expert in. I'm not a historian, I'm a storyteller, right? So I am so grateful that I can weave into my creative process the ability to quickly look things up and draw concrete detail into my work. So the capacity for technology to help us do research is also profound. Um, what about ebooks? What about going on holiday and having an entire library in your pocket? Amazing. It is amazing. We have technology now that allows us to format books so that they are typeset, perhaps not to the level of a hand set, beautifully typeset document, but typeset well enough to be shared and to be published independently. And that is something that many people are having a wonderful time playing with and building businesses upon and building careers upon. This is made possible by technology that was, it's so unimaginable when you look how fast we got from Gutenberg to being able to indie publish your own professionally formatted book on a distribution platform that is truly global. That's amazing. Audiobooks. Oh my goodness, audiobook fans out there, what a treat it is to be able to have wonderful narrators narrate your favorite books and you can just download it on your magic little pocket computer and have that experience. This is incredible. And of course, one of my favorite uses of technology is happening right now, isn't it? I love having technology that allows me to connect with other writers, allows me to teach, allows me to mentor, allows me to facilitate a conversation between those of us who are drawn to write and who care deeply about doing it well and creating work that is going to endure and that is worthy of our readers. So I'm very grateful for this type of streaming platform. I use a product called StreamYard that allows me to do this and be more than one place at once. So I can be on Facebook and YouTube at the same time, which is great because people like to hang out in different places on the internet. And I also am very grateful to some technology that I use to run my Path of the Storyteller program. I have a wonderful course platform hosted by a technology called Kajabi, and that allows my students to watch lectures and to share their work and to comment on each other's work, to ask me questions that we can then meet and discuss. I mean, it makes it such a rich and effective experience. We get on Zoom together and we have live coaching sessions and Q&As, right? When people want to have a one-on-one with me, when they want to do private coaching, they can schedule it with Calendly. They can press a button and see where my calendar is available for them to book a coaching session. We can exchange files on Dropbox. I mean, it's just incredible. I've been extra grateful since obviously the pandemic disrupted so many of the more traditional ways of gathering with students and mentoring. My gratitude for having the technology to just leap online and continue and grow my teaching practice and to stay in relationship with all of you and keep meeting new writers all the time is supremely grateful for. And speaking of all of you, let me just say hi now. Now my comments are live. There's a little bit of delay before. Love to see you, Cynthia. Glad that you're here. Welcome, Jay. That is terrific that you're here. And Mia, it's wonderful that you're here. And yes, I agree. Technology is great. This is one of the things that has allowed us to meet each other, right? And be in relationship. So that was number 8 on my top 10 list of things that I'm grateful for as a writer. But number 7 is technology feels like a forward-looking topic, right? Cutting edge. Number 7 is a looking backwards topic. Number 7 is old books. And I don't just mean, musty tomes in a library. I mean my personal old books, the books that I have had for decades. They're sitting on my shelves. Some of them are books from when I was a child. Some of them are books that I first encountered as a young adult, a woman in my 20s. Decades later, I still have those books, and I'm so grateful for them because they feel like old friends. And it is such a wonderful feeling in a day and age, right, when we're all really busy, we're working, we're doing what we can, and friendships, we have to really make space and time to nurture friendships. People grow up, they grow old, they move away, things change, But Jane Eyre is still Jane Eyre, and I read it when I was a teenager, and it gave me all the Jane Eyre feels, and I can pick it up today, and it's still there. Jane's still there. My favorite passages are still there. That amazing love story is still there. And my history with that story is still there. The way it made me feel then, how I've understood it and related to it differently over the course of a lifetime. I have my own list of books that are old friends. And that's a personal pleasure. And I'm really grateful for it. And I also want to say that books that have been around for a while are also, to me, possessed of a special wisdom. They have endured, even though some of them may feel, antiquated, and rightly so, right? Because they are written from a different cultural context. There's something about those stories that has endured, and it's helpful for us to be curious as writers who want to write stories that endure. Let's be curious about what has brought certain tales through the centuries so that we're still reading them, thinking about them, talking about them. So I'm grateful for old books. I'm grateful for them. I love the way they feel. I love the way they smell. And I love the memories that they bring back to me. And the special pleasure, I ought to add, of rereading, because when you reread something that you've read many times, the opportunity to go deeper each time is so delightful. You know what happens, and you also know that you're going to like it, right? You know that. You're ready for it. It's like listening to a favorite song. You have a sense of what you're in for, and yet something new is bound to be revealed. And to be able to read something that at that level of nuance is great too, and it helps us be more discerning, right? It helps us be more discerning. So I don't know what your favorites are. Jane Eyre's one of mine. The Hobbit's one of mine. Charlotte's, you know which I talk about my favorites all the time. You know what they are, but I'm sure you've got your own list. And in fact, if you want to share in the comments what your favorites are, that would be great. Oh, and let's see, a special wave to Terry. I'm so glad you're here, Terry. I'm so glad you're here. All right, that was number 7, my reverse countdown. Number 7 was old books. Guess what number 6 is going to be? New books. New books, new books. Oh my goodness. I'm so grateful for new books. I'm grateful. I can't help myself. I mean, we all have our weaknesses. I literally cannot say no to a book. If I see a new book and it interests me, even for a half a second, I'm like, give me that book. I got to have it, Do I own a lot of books that I haven't read yet? Do I? I do. I do. I don't let that stop me though. And I don't think you should let it stop you either. We're going to read them. We've made a commitment. We're going to read them someday. But I just love new books. And I don't just mean the pleasure of acquiring new books, which is substantial, but I mean the pleasure of discovering newly written books. I get so excited when I read something new that I love that I can't shut up about it. I am inspired when I read something that just opens my mind about this is a writer that how come I've never heard of them? Oh, I want to read everything they've written now. I love the way they think. I love their way with a sentence. I love their preoccupations thematically and whatever it is, it just fills me with excitement. Reading books by our fellow community of living working authors who are doing great work and who are doing the work and doing great work is just a great way to stay inspired, isn't it? I mean, it makes you want to go write something. It really makes you want to go write something. And I'm so grateful for that feeling. So I can't say this without letting you know 2 books that I've read very recently within the last couple of weeks that just gave me this feeling. So let me share them with you. I actually grab them off the nightstand, to be honest. That's where they were, because I've just been reading them. First of all, anybody who's a middle grade fan, you may already know the wonderful writer Hilary McKay. This is a book called The Skylark's War that I recently read. It's actually been out for a couple of years. Yeah, 2018, but I just got around to reading it. Oh, it's just magnificent. I'm putting Hilary McKay on my list of authors that I will read every word that drops from her pen. Highly recommended. It's delightful historical fiction about a group of young people in England in the years leading up to World War I and their experiences all through the war and its aftermath. It's delicious, so gorgeously written. Here's another one, something completely different. And this is the other thing, I love reading outside my comfort zone. And I think we all have genres, types of stories that we gravitate to just out of our taste, or maybe we have other reasons. I write middle grade. And so I like to, read really great middle grade authors, but that's not the only thing I like to read. I'm curious about it. A type of story that I am not in the habit of often picking up is a legal thriller. I don't often pick them up. Well, guess what I picked up? I picked up a legal thriller, and it is so great, and I just loved it. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. Its title is Involuntary Witness. The author is Gianrico Carafiglio. Now, why did I pick up a legal thriller when it's not my chosen form of entertainment typically? Well, I'll tell you. The author, Gianrico Carafiglio, is, or perhaps was, I'm not sure if he's still actively doing it, a judge in southern Italy who specialized in prosecuting organized crime, fascinating, right? Now, here's the personal connection. He is lived and worked in the city in southern Italy where my ancestors are from. And the book is set in that city, which is Bari, right? In the southern part of Italy. And I thought, I came across it. I don't even remember how. And I said, oh, a legal thriller set in Bari. Oh, well, I would like to read that. So I was drawn to this setting. And guess what? I totally got hooked on the plot and all of it. So it's a series. I'm already reading the other ones in the series. I want to add another little note of special gratitude because this was a book written in Italian and it's translated into English, which is how I'm reading it, and published by a press in the UK called Bitter Lemon Press. Now, we don't get nearly enough books that are super popular in other languages translated into English, right? The American book market is so saturated in so many ways that it's not often that a book written in another language it gets translated into English and becomes a sensation. This book has sold millions of copies in Italy. It's wildly successful, and it's the basis of a television series. And I hadn't heard of it because it was in Italian, and it's available from in an beautiful English translation from this small press. So this is a double win for me because not only did I love it, now I have a new series to read through, but I'm also having the special pleasure of reading something that's been translated, and it's giving me both the wonderful experience of the setting, right? This authentic treatment of this setting in southern Italy, but the beautiful quality of a book that was written in another language and having been translated. There is to me always a very, very subtle, like a feeling of poetry about it because the writing was thought in Italian, right? And so language is fascinating, isn't it? So someone who thought this book in Italian, the fact that it's translated into English, it still doesn't feel like a book written in English. It's magnificently translated. It's a wonderful read, but it has this gorgeous, slightly strange quality about it. And that refreshes me as a writer. So let's make this not just new books because they're like new friends that we make, but also new experiences reading. And whether that's books in genres that you're not typically interested in, settings that you don't know anything about, or books written in translation that you might not otherwise come across. Let's add all of that to my category number 6, new books. All of that newness is really, really stimulating. All right. What's number 5? What's number 5 on my list of things that I'm grateful for? Well, if you've been watching the channel, you might have seen that I recently did a whole talk about the idea of opposition, of obstacles. Number 5 on my top 10 list is obstacles. I'm grateful for the obstacles. Now, that sounds a bit like too good to be true, isn't it? But let's talk about it for just a minute. If we don't have obstacles as storytellers, we can't really tell a story, right? Because a story that doesn't have a goal, that encounters some obstacle, what is it? It is the very definition of a story in which nothing happens. If nothing happens, it's not a story. It's not a story. So we have to be grateful for the whole idea of opposition, of obstacles. It is the stuff our stories are made of. We can't get anywhere as writers without really being deeply involved with the idea of goals and obstacles. Goals and obstacles. Now, you're with me now. I know you know that story structure depends on this because we've talked about it so much. But here's the question I want you to ponder. If a story in which there's no mission and no opposition is a story in which nothing happens, do we really want our lives to be stories in which nothing happens? Think about that for a minute. It's very easy to say, oh, I just wish I got everything I wanted. I wish I had a magic genie. If I wanted stuff, I could just wish for it and I would have it all. But we would be living lives that would be stories in which nothing happens. We'd be wishing ourselves into a kind of we talk about the food coma that comes after Thanksgiving, and I hope everyone has that happy experience over the next few days. We would just be gluttons putting ourselves into a wish coma. We'd just be pleasing ourselves without having to earn it. And I think that uh, with age comes wisdom sometimes, and the older I've gotten, the more I am appreciative of the fact that it does take a long time to get what we want. We do have to work pretty hard to get what we want. It doesn't come automatically. We have to put in our time, and we have to suffer the frustrations, the disappointments, all that stuff that writers love to complain about, as I said at the beginning of this talk. We have to go through them for the same reason that we put the heroes of our stories through them, which is it's the goad to growth. It's the way we change. It's the way we learn and change. And the talk that I did about the idea of opposition quoted the Stoic philosopher from ancient Rome, Seneca, who said that without an opponent, we never know what we're capable of. We never learn what we're truly capable of until we are faced with an opponent. And I think that on a personal level, I have come to agree with that. That so much of what comes into our lives is like, oh, this is an obstacle. This doesn't feel good, ends up, if we're willing to wrestle with it and grapple with it, being the pathway to us becoming closer and closer to our fully actualized selves. So I want to express gratitude for the obstacles. The very same things we complain about are in oftentimes can be tremendous gifts. Now, this is not to be insensitive to the fact that some obstacles feel flattening and some obstacles feel deeply unfair, and in that there are moments in life that it just really does feel overwhelming. We do need fertile soil to grow in, you know. And without that, obstacles are just we don't have enough life force in us to do battle with them, to learn the lessons. We do need fertile soil to grow in, and I wish that for all of you. I wish that for all of us. But that does not mean we have to be a hothouse flower. It doesn't mean we have to insist upon that. If we have fertile soil to grow in, we can weather the storms of life, and with some wisdom. And when you're a storyteller, since you know that this is how characters grow and change, you will always be attentive to what it feels like to go through that process, and it will make your writing richer and better. That is a great gift that you have as a writer. You know the value of opposition. Great. So that's number 5. Number 4 on my top 10 list. This is a fun one. I am so grateful for the reader's brain, not the reader's elbow, not the reader's, kneecaps, the reader's brain. Why am I grateful for the reader's brain? Consider this. The reader's brain is the theater in which the fruit of all our hard work as writers is performed. What we do, the invention, the writing, the rewriting, the careful crafting of it all, doesn't come to life until someone reads it and the lights go on in their brain and the performance begins. Now, the performance in their brain is, if we're fortunate, a pretty close approximation of what we intended when we put all our carefully chosen words on the page. But it doesn't happen on the page. It happens in the brain of the reader. Now, Our reader is almost certainly a human being, just like we are. And what we know about human brains is it's phenomenal. They don't make a much distinction between having a real lived experience and reading about that experience. The brain doesn't care which one it is. The brain responds similarly if the reader is having an experience or if they're reading about an experience. So what we've been given as storytellers is it's just the most spectacular virtual reality system that could exist. Uh, our work comes to its fruition, it blossoms, it comes to life in this extraordinary landscape that is so sensitive that if I write words on a page that have to do with cutting onions in preparation for making my Thanksgiving feast, my reader is going to start, their eyes are going to start to water. Like this can happen. The sensory input of the language will trigger the brain to start reacting as if it's really happening. How often have you ever had someone start talking about lemons and you started to pucker? You read about food and you get hungry. I mean, it's really fantastic. So I'm really, really grateful to the reader's brain. It invented holodecks before Star Trek, virtual reality before any contemporary video game technology was existed. Readers' brains have been able to do this since the very beginning of reading. So thank you, brains of readers. I'm grateful to my brain that it does the same thing when I read, but I'm really grateful that the readers that I write for, that I intend my work for, are just such miraculous theaters of experience. It's just an incredible privilege to be able to design a work of storytelling for such a infinitely powerful landscape. I mean, think about what you can put in your reader's brain. You can bring them to the furthest reaches of the universe with words. They can imagine that whole trip. You can bring them into the interior of a cell with words. They can imagine that whole trip too. Amazing. Thank you, readers' brains. Now, speaking of brains, number 3 on my list. It's very special. I want to express my gratitude to my students. Such incredible brains you are. So much learning goes on, so much openness, so much hard work. I am so grateful to my writing students. And let me just give you a little context. I launched Path of the Storyteller in the very beginning of 2020. But this online program was like the online iteration of material that I have been teaching for years and years. I taught a course at NYU. I taught a course at Lehman College in each case for some years. I've taught at workshops. I've taught writing conferences. I've worked with clients privately and taught them one-on-one. I've been teaching this way of thinking about writing for a long time. And every student that I met along the way, because of their willingness to engage with what I was trying to share with them and to share with me their process, taught me something, made me understand better how good writing works, made me sort of challenge and form and reform my own ideas about what makes good writing work in a way that was clear enough to be actionable by writers who are developing their craft. Every question that I've been asked as a teacher has made me better because it just teaches me how to explain it that much better, explain it a little better, demonstrate it a little better, have an example that helps, the light bulb go off. my students have shared with me so many struggles, so much work as they've tried to implement things and, realized they weren't getting it right. And, what would it take to really understand it, to nail it? And they've shared with me the moments when that light bulb finally does go off and they write something and they're like, wait a minute. I, I read it and it feels like something I would read in a book. Like all of a sudden my work has that special sauce because I changed a dozen things based on a lot of exploration of good writing craft. And then they start to see it happen in their work, and their work is popping off the page and it's having that quality that they've been seeking for so long. And they share their joy in that moment as well. And that's it's so rewarding to me. It makes me feel so good and so excited for all the good stuff that they're going to create, all the great stories they're going to put in their readers' brains. So I just want to really express from the bottom of my heart, I am so grateful for all my students over many, many years of teaching in person and now online through Path of the Storyteller, which has been its own incredible joy and discovery about how that can work and how I can reach even more students who live all over, and bring communities of writers together who are, would never meet in real life. Right. And so, a little wave back to thanks to technology. But thank you, thank you, thank you to my students. You've made me a better writer, certainly, uh, by always challenging me to think more deeply about how we can improve our writing even more. And I think you've made me a better person just by your shining example, how hardworking you are. So thank you, all my students, past, present, and future. I'm so grateful for you. Number 2, we're getting into the home stretch here. Number 2 of my top 10 things that I'm grateful for as a writer is the lineage of storytellers. Now, let me explain that. When I use the word lineage, I always think of a dear friend of mine who's a classical pianist. And he once told me, oh, my teacher did our lineage. And I was like, what does that mean exactly? And he explained that this is a thing that classical musicians do. So a pianist like him has a teacher who studied with a teacher, and that teacher studied with a teacher, and that teacher studied with a teacher. And the lineage of teaching, when they trace it back, it sometimes goes back to, and that teacher studied with that person, and that person studied with Beethoven. And so that lineage of like Beethoven taught your teaching ancestors, and it comes all the way down to you, is a very special feeling, right? And it's something that musicians do because it's the mentor energy is coming down the line, and they're like, yeah, I'm in the Beethoven lineage of teachers. It makes me feel pretty good, We are all, as writers, in a lineage of storytellers that goes back. We can't even know, but we do know, for example, that 10,000 or so years ago, Stone Age people were in caves painting stories on the walls, right? They were making pigments and they were creating artwork that told stories. We know that impulse to document what happened, or to invent what might happen, or create a tale about what would wish to happen, is just part of being human. This storytelling impulse is so deep in us. And then we've got the storytellers from the oral traditions. And then we've got the stuff that was starting to be written down. We've got the Odyssey of Homer. We've got Gilgamesh. We've got Greek tragedies. We've got Roman comedies. We've got medieval morality plays and romances. We've got, Renaissance literature. We've got the development of the novel. We've got Cervantes. We've got Dante's Inferno. It's an epic poem, but what a story. We've got all of this stuff coming to us, and now we're just at the end of it. And so it's so phenomenal to consider. It's one of the reasons that I gravitate with such pleasure to the work of people like Joseph Campbell, who are really love to connect the stories that we write to the wellspring of mythology, the stories that humans have been telling from all cultures from time immemorial, because it honors that idea of lineage, that the things that what we're doing is part of the practice of being human. Our writing practice is a human practice. It's one of the things humans do, is tell stories, share stories, and we are part of that. And writing can be lonely work, and it can be a challenge sometimes to stay motivated. And I just want everyone to consider that you're not reinventing the wheel. You are passing a baton. It's being passed to you, and in your work you're passing this baton of storytelling to the next person. So you don't have to hold it all up by yourself. You don't have to you don't have to be self-absorbed to the point where you think the burden of all of this is on me. I've got to learn how to do this, and I've got to find some kind of meaning in it myself, and I've got to find some rewards in it, myself. It's like, you know what? You're part of a lineage. Humans love stories. You're a storyteller. Just be part of it. Be part of it. Receive the baton with gratitude. Add your piece to it, add your piece to the story, the great human story, and then pass the baton on. I hope that makes you feel part of something bigger than yourself. That can be a tremendous consolation. So that was number 2. I'm grateful for the lineage of storytellers. And this leads me quite naturally to number 1 of my top 10 list of things that I'm grateful for about being a writer. And that is positive writing communities. Oh, isn't it wonderful to be with other writers? Aren't these conversations fun? Isn't it great that you guys now know each other from seeing each other in the comments, right? Every week you come live, you're meeting each other in the comments of these live streams. We are, by hook or by crook, forming a community. We formed a community, and we share this interest, and it gives us a place to find kindred spirits, to talk about the things we're passionate about, to realize that our struggles are not special. It's just normal to struggle with the things we struggle with as writers, and carry on. We can encourage each other. We can help each other. So this really is such an important thing. And I use the word positive advisedly, right? Because I think that we all know that people can be drawn together out of negative feeling as well as out of positive feeling. People who feel bitter, people who feel aggrieved, people who have a very negative outlook about whatever will gravitate toward people who validate their perspective. Everyone seeks this. The old saying, birds of a feather flock together. If we want it to be validated that having a career as a writer is impossible, that agents are mean, that publishers don't love us, that that nobody will ever understand our work, that there's no hope that things are ever going to be good, and that we're sort of victimized by our own desire to write because we want to do it, but we know it'll never work out. If we're in that mindset, alas, you'll be able to find people that say, yes, that's true. I feel exactly the same way. Are those people good for you to hang around with? Ask yourself, ask yourself if that's so. There's such a thing as a positive writing community. There's a positive writing community where people are cheering for each other's success, where people are saying, you know what, this work is a joy. It's a privilege. We are part of something bigger than ourselves. Our stories can have an impact on other people. They don't have to have an impact on everybody on the planet. We're not all going to be J.K. Rowling and write something that literally everybody on the planet is going to know about. But we will have our readers, and it will have an impact on them. I mean, it's such a joy and privilege. And if we situate ourselves, if we allow ourselves to gravitate toward positive writing communities, you will find yourself surrounded by people who will validate and affirm that experience, and it will recharge your batteries as you go through this journey as a storyteller, as a writer, developing your work, taking it to the next level, always trying to be better. It's what you need. No machine or no car can run on a empty tank of gas. We have to replenish our batteries. We have to find sources of new energy to recharge us along the journey. And there's nothing better than a positive writing community to do that. So, Sarah, I'm going to put your quote up because it's so lovely. I'm going to share a little comment from Sarah that just got posted. It's so wonderful to be part of this community. Yay! Knowing you're not alone in this writing work and encouraging and learning from each other. You see, it's so great. Thank you so much for posting that, Sarah. I really appreciate that. So don't be shy. Don't get too wrapped up in your own troubles that you think that your problems are all so special and unique. Find a positive writing community. Lay down your burdens. Let people support you and support others. Don't if you find yourself accidentally in a negative energy club, quit. Just walk away from that. It's not going to change. It's not going to help you. Find a positive writing community. All right. That's what we all need. This work is worth it. And that is something that you will be reminded of every day when you're around people that share this belief. So I want to say, like Sarah, I consider all of you part of my positive writing community. It's such a treat to get on here once a week. I'm always hoping that this is a benefit to you. I'm always looking forward to seeing you again the following week. So let me conclude with a little bonus piece of gratitude. Thank you for watching these live streams. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for tuning in on Facebook. Thank you for leaving comments when you're here live. Thank you for leaving comments when you watch the replays. It all builds community. It makes me feel fantastic. I'm so grateful for it. And it's also of benefit to each other as this community grows and this positive vibe really starts to feel like an identity. I'm really, really grateful to have all of you in the path of the storyteller community, which is what I consider this is. This is like the way that I get to meet you, and then there's always the opportunities to take it another step further. But if you stay a YouTube subscriber forevermore, that's amazing too. You're still part of the path of the storyteller community. We can still really help each other and support each other and encourage each other. If you are interested in maybe taking the next step, however, as I said at the beginning of this stream, there's Black Friday stuff happening with Path of the Storyteller. We're going to have a pre-enrollment special over the Black Friday sale weekend. You need to be on the email list to get that invitation. So please go to pathofthestoryteller.com. Make sure you're on my email list, and you will get all the info. So the next course is going to be running in January of 2022, and you will be given an amazing opportunity to pre-enroll at a special Black Friday offer. So if you've been thinking it might be time to jump into the program, this is the best opportunity that's going to come your way to do it. So that's what I have to offer you today. I hope this makes you think about what you're grateful for as writers, in addition to all the other things you might be exploring your gratitude about this week. If you're in the US and celebrating Thanksgiving, that's going to be very much on your mind, I'm sure. If you're not in the US, gratitude requires no special holiday. It's a great thing to practice. So thank you all for being here. And I wish you, if you celebrate Thanksgiving, a very happy Thanksgiving. And I wish all of you happy writing. I'll see you next time.